And we continue at 2:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wings in Culver City.
John, at the Rose Parade a few days ago, there was a float to honor the victims of the Eaton and Palisades fire. And on that float, one of the people on the float put up a sign that said, "Hey, Rob Bonta, you got to investigate all this crap because something criminal happened here." I feel like that's...
Was the sign made in flowers?
I feel like that claim is going to fall on deaf ears because Bonta don't care at all about that.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the host of Hardball with Chris Matthews on Substack. He's also the author of a new book, which is available at Amazon.com and your local bookstore, Lessons from Bobby, 10 Reasons Robert F. Kennedy Still Matters. You can follow him on X at Hardball Chris. Chris Matthews, welcome. Chris, are you there?
Is he on mute?
Chris, you might be on mute.
I mean, at some point he's going to have to start talking, or I'm going to have to figure out an impression of him.
Chris, are you there?
Chris Matthews.
All right, can we try to get him back?
I'm going to hang up the call. I'm going to text our screener, Adam. Can we get him back? So let me open up the phone here, type in Adam. Can we get him back? Let's see if we get a response here. All right, well, he is dialing out. I see it. The screener computer is white. That means the call is going out to whoever booked this. We're going to see if we can get Chris Matthews back on the line. We had him. You could hear that there was a phone there, but he was not speaking on the other end, which usually means if you can hear a phone, that it's on mute.
And that's very common now with the iPhones, which is typically what people use when they call into radio programs.
Well, and most commonly, people use the mute button when they're on the toilet.
Yes, or in a public place.
All right.
So maybe, all right.
We're going to try this again. John, why don't you go ahead and set this up just like you did a minute ago?
All right. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He's the host of Hardball with Chris Matthews on Substack. He's also the author of the new book, Lessons from Bobby, 10 Reasons Robert F. Kennedy Still Matters, available online at Amazon.com. You can follow him on X at Hardball Chris. Chris Matthews, welcome.
Thank you, John. Here I am.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in. And before I start asking you about the book, I want to tell you a quick story about one of your old bosses, Tip O'Neill.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, Ken Levine, was a writer on Cheers back when Cheers was the hot show on TV. Of course, it took place in Boston. And Tip was the Speaker of the House and, of course, very famous politician from Massachusetts. And they thought it would be a good idea to have Tip on the show. And, you know, today politicians would jump at the opportunity to go on a hot network show. But Tip was reluctant at first. He didn't want to do it because he said he came from neighborhoods where neighborhood taverns caused a lot of problems in the neighborhood, where people would spend their paychecks there. They wouldn't go home to the wife. They wouldn't have the money left over for the kids, those sorts of things. So he was reluctant to do it. And they kept asking. And finally, he agreed to do it. And the initial scene that they wrote for him was he was supposed to be in the men's room at the urinal having a conversation with Ted Danson. And he looked at the script and he went back to him and he said, the Speaker of the House is not going to be having a conversation at a urinal on primetime television. Rewrite it. And then they rewrote the episode. He came in, he knocked it out of the park. He was great.
Yeah, that's so much him. The part about the bar room, the Irish part of this thing is serious. He did not like going around. We met him at a bar doing some up in Cambridge one time during an election. We were just talking to people, and he did not want to come in the bar. He did not like the idea of barroom campaigning, going around and trying to get the Irish guys sitting at the bar to vote or something like that. He hated that image of the drunken Irishman, and he just didn't like it. And I did something up in Connecticut with him. I do a couple with Charlie Gibson from ABC. We did a couple events up there. He did not like it. I remember it. exactly that mentality he had. And as for doing it with a urinal, give me a break. He wasn't going to do that. I have to tell you though, when he had his his goodbye party for Boston College, where he went to college, they had a big fundraiser for him at the Washington Hilton. And I go into one of these classic men's rooms in a big hotel with the urinals all along one wall. And way at the other end of the room was Bob Hope. Bob Hope at a urinal. and he looked over at me and looked at me back and forth. And I realized he knows that for the rest of my life, I'm going to be bragging about spotting Bob Hope at a urinal. He was an old vaudevillian, and he knew the game of just spotting celebrities and saying, well, I was there one time with him. And, that was great. No, that's a true story, Tippett. And I'll tell you, I put a picture of him with George Wendt from that cast in one of my books on Tip and the Gipper about his relationship with Ronald Reagan. And that was a big moment. Yeah, I do remember that. I think somebody on his staff, I didn't know who it was, but somebody, he was a woman, an older woman, who knew somebody on that casting operation, something in that show. It was a favor for somebody.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by. You have a new book out about Bobby Kennedy. Why'd you write the book?
Well, you want the truth? Okay. Yeah, it's kind of Simon & Schuster. I've done 7 or 8 books for them. They called me up and they said, why don't you do something on Bobby Kennedy for his 100th birthday? He would be 100 this November, and do something on it. And then I put it together. I had a couple of weeks to write it. I had put together a lot of old material I had, and I did it, and I got it done fast, and it's a good book. It's a readable, short book, and it's got a lot of his speeches in it, and it's basically about the image of the whole book is one thing. If you look at the funeral train when he was buried, taken down from St. Patrick's in New York down to Arlington Cemetery, all along that parade route was the real statement of his life. Black faces, white faces, black people in Philadelphia, 20,000 of them singing the Battle Hymn of the Republic, white people all along between the big cities, Trenton and Philly and all the other cities, Newark, all the white guys standing in salute with their families in birth order. It was amazing support from a couple of groups in the United States that lately haven't been that united. And he was a great uniter.
The big political story today is Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, announcing that he's not running for re-election. Of course, the money that's going into the various social programs, the non-for-profits that are in the Somali community, that was the reason, or that was one of the reasons that really drove him out of the race. But when you look back at the old timers, the old school guys, people like Bobby Kennedy, people before him like FDR, politicians like that took offense at graft. FDR did not want public employees unionized because of the fear of the money not being given to the people that it's intended to go to, but being gobbled up by those in between. Bobby Kennedy aggressively went after the unions when he thought that there was corruption going on there. They seemed to really care about making sure that money got to where it was intended to go. And if the money was taken and was spent someplace else, that was offensive to them. When you look at that story in Minnesota or the bullet train here in California or projects that are similar in story where the money doesn't go where it's supposed to go, I feel like there's an opportunity out there for someone running for president on the Democratic side to take that FDR offense or Bobby Kennedy offense and say, wait a minute, that's not supposed to happen.
Well, that's for sure. And I think if you're a congressman from a big city and you've got a crime problem, it's your problem. You can't walk away from it and say that's a state issue or a local issue. If you got to look at Philadelphia, where I grew up, you now have a big drop in murder rate. Good. Finally, a number went down. And if you cannot talk about crime and not being an issue and corruption, this thing with the Somali thing was terrible. I'm glad he quit. I'm glad Walz quit. Kamala Harris, if she runs again, I don't know if she will or not, she would have to disown him. It's a reality. You can't claim responsibility for local government winning every single election for local government. In Philadelphia, New York, San Francisco, Democrats win every election for local office, and they don't take responsibility for it in many cases. And only now, like in San Francisco, they're trying to take seriously, and the DA up there is taking things seriously. You got to be responsible for the community you're leading if you're going to keep winning elections. And I think that's a big challenge. And I think the Democrats, the crime issue hurt them in New York last time, in the suburbs around New York. It's a big issue, and the Democrats, and immigration is another big issue, and they got to start taking responsibility for it. They can't just pass laws and ignore them.
It used to be that the best pedigree that you could have as a candidate for president is to be a successful governor of a state. Because if you were governor,
still true.
You had to appoint judges. You have to appoint department heads. You have to hold them accountable. You have to come up with budgets. You have to deal with legislatures. If there's a weather event that destroys some part of your state, you have to deal with it. And people kind of get the idea of what you would be like as the chief executive of the country. And certainly that was the case with Ronald Reagan, with Bill Clinton, with George W., with Jimmy Carter. They used that idea that people already had in their heads, and that helped them as a candidate for the presidency. And it seems like now people are moving away from that, where you had, for example, Sarah Palin after she was the VP nominee. She quit.
Everybody knows right now who has any cognizance of what's going on in the Democratic Party knows the Democrats are going to run a governor next time. Everybody knows they got to run a governor. They have to. They can't run some talker, some schmoozer. They got to run somebody who's Ronald Reagan. When he walked into the Oval Office after he was elected in '80 and beat my boss at the time, he walked in the Oval Office and said, "I've been here." That was what you said a minute ago. That's a very strong statement. I've been here. I know what it means to have executive responsibilities, and he accepted them. And I'm telling you, he broke the air traffic controller strike. He knew what he was doing. I'm going to break that strike. It's a wildcat strike, and I'm going to break it because you can't break it. You can't strike against the government. And I'm telling you, I think you're dead right. But I think the Democrats. Look, everybody I talk to say they're talking about Andy Beshear. They're talking about Gavin Newsom. They're talking about governors. Who else are they talking about? It's a serious candidate for president next time, and they're already talking about it. They need a governor, whether it's Pritzker or somebody who's actually done something and passed budgets. I think that's real.
What do you make of the Newsom philosophy then? Because he's essentially an absentee landlord here in California now. We have a fund right now for the fire victims, people who lost everything down to their toothbrush down in Pacific Palisades. $100 million was raised for these people. The money is going to all of these non-for-profit organizations. The fire victims can't get their hands on any of it. These people are living in a never-ending nightmare, and no one will help them. And they appeal to Newsom, and Newsom goes, "That's not my responsibility. I'm not in charge of that. Don't ask me." Yet he's going on the cable programs. He's tweeting about Trump every single day. He's weighing in on all the national issues, but he's not interested at all at what's going on in California anymore.
Well, he'll be that way. He's going to be responsible for homelessness and everything. You know, the focus on California has been now for years now, homelessness, and the people running into CVS's and grabbing everything and not being charged for criminal offenses. These stories are everywhere. They're all on the East Coast. Everybody knows these stories of California problems. And I think he's going to be accountable for it. And I do think he's been very effective at reaching Trump. And most of the other guys are like DeSantis in the Republican Party last time. It's very hard for them to elevate, to get their reach out. And they end up being like Jeb Bush or somebody like that. They don't really know, or Marco was last time. They don't know how to reach up. Well, you know, Gavin's been able to do that. But if he hasn't been dealing with local issues, he's going to pay for it.
Right now, I think the bridge between moderate Democrats and left-wing Democrats is they all hate Donald Trump. And right now, I think that Gavin Newsom is trying to sell himself as the bridge between the right and the left, or the right or the left and the center of the Democratic Party.
I don't accept Donald Trump, his authority. I accept the fact he has the office, but he lost the election in 2020. He said he didn't. He led a Capitol attack on the United States Capitol. He pardoned everybody who committed crimes that day, including the loss of those police officers. I don't think he's a very patriotic fellow. Okay, so that's my position. So that does unite me with the left, and I'm not much of a lefty, but that does unite me against those people who realize that Donald Trump shouldn't have been elected president because he lied about the 2020 election, and he still lied. He lied about it again this week. He keeps it. He did up in Pennsylvania at the Pocono Mountains in that first rally of the 2026 election. He came out and attacked. He said, I won last time. No, he didn't. He didn't win in 2020. Name the states. Mr. President, if you're going to keep claiming you won the election, tell me which states you didn't get counted for. Tell me where the electoral votes were that you didn't get credit for. Please do. Was it the 12,000 you tried to steal down in Georgia? Where were these states where you won these elections? Please tell me. He never does. And the MAGA people never tell you either. Ask any one of them. Which states did he win actually? The ones he didn't get credit for. Please tell me. They can't tell you. It's all BS. And that's Trump leading the way.
But do you think that's the play that Newsom's going for, though? He's trying to take the heat off of his record in California.
Anything who thinks Trump was legitimate in his handling of the attack on the Capitol January 6th in 2021 is a problem.
But I'm talking about Newsom here, though, right now, because he can't run on the record in California, and I think he's trying to distract from the record by making himself the chief foil to Trump.
Well, who's going to beat him out there? Who has been able to beat him?
No, in California, he's termed out now, so he's not going to run for any office here. But in the Democratic primary,
I didn't think he's perfect. I had the image of the empty suit. I know all about it. But the question is, nobody could beat him. I don't know.
Well, in the Democratic primary for president, they might.
Well, it's just that you got to get some besides Cowboy stars. I mean, who baseball players? I mean, what are your candidates for statewide office? Who are you running out there on the Republican side?
Yeah, well,
I never see anybody that can win. Nobody ever looks like they're going to win.
No, the last one who had a chance was Meg Whitman, and that went.
Barbara Boxer won 4 times out there. You're talking about the California left. She's on the hard left, and she won every single time. I don't know. It beats me about California.
Let's talk about another Californian, because Nancy Pelosi called it quits. She's not running for re-election, and she is no longer the leader of the House, although she is still an elected member of Congress. How big of a loss strategically is that going to be for Democrats in the House?
Well, I worked for Tip O'Neill for 6 years, and I worked with him every day. And I think she was a better vote counter, better tough disciplinarian. She had the Machiavellian ability to be feared but not hated, and that's quite a talent, to be feared but not hated. And I knew a lot of guys my age who normally would have a problem with someone like her as the boss, and they accepted it. Steny Hoyer among them. She was a tough taskmaster, and she squeezed those votes in for Obamacare, and she lost a couple elections, won most of them. She's something else. Now, I don't know anybody. This guy, Hakeem Jeffries, I don't think so yet. I watched him this morning. I don't think so yet. I don't think he or Schumer know how to talk right. Maybe they don't have the right staff people, but they don't seem to know how to speak with some discernment. People wanted some discernment coming out of the Maduro's operation the other day. They want to know exactly what was done wrong, what was done right, and where should we as a country be going right now. My concerns in these matters is be careful what you do in international affairs, because you never know what other countries, our adversaries, are going to pull as a counter reaction. You cannot tell what Xi's going to pull in China. He could go for Taiwan and said, hey, they just arrested the guy from Venezuela. I'm taking over Taiwan. This is what Kennedy worried about, Jack Kennedy, back in the Cuban Missile Crisis. Don't go attacking, killing Russians in Cuba unless you're prepared to deal with what's going to happen in Berlin tomorrow morning, because that's what's going to happen, the reaction. So I think there's a lot of thought has to go into these things, and I haven't heard it from the top Democrats right now. But Pelosi was pretty darn sharp.
The book is Lessons from Bobby, 10 Reasons Robert F. Kennedy Still Matters, available online at Amazon.com and in bookstores everywhere. Chris Matthews, thanks so much for stopping by, and have a very happy New Year.
Great to have me on. Thank you, John. John Phillips, thanks so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you. 800-222-5222 is a telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you want to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com.
Should I read some of these Chris Matthews emails?
Oh, boy.
Maybe
no.
not.
Just let your mind wander. Next week, Randy, we're going on the road.
How exciting is this? We are starting off the year strong with a remote at one of our favorite places. We're going back to Sherman Oaks in the San Fernando Valley to the Pineapple Hill Saloon and Grill next Friday, January 16th from noon to 3. So you have enough notice to come up with your excuse and call in sick to work. And if you're in the Bay, you get enough time to get a plane ticket on points and come down to the Valley. Flying to Burbank, Sherman Oaks is very close. We're doing a live broadcast of the John Phillips Show at the Pineapple Hill next Friday from noon to 3. That place has a beautiful patio, great food, love the drinks. Susan Shelley from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association will join us. The courts have made it easier to raise your taxes, so we need you to come by and sign the petition to save Prop 13. In fact, you can go to the website right now and you'll be ahead of the game. You wouldn't even have to stand in that line because you're like, I already signed the proposition. Go to saveprop13.com, fill that out, and send it in. All the instructions are right there. We'll tell you more about your taxpayers' rights in protecting Prop 13. The John Phillips Show, live in Sherman Oaks at the Pineapple Hill, Friday the 16th from noon to 3. We'll be there, and so will you.
All right. So, Randy, you have an update for us on squatting going on in California.
There's a lot of squatting in California because California laws very much benefit the squatter. But that doesn't stop landlords from employing specialized services that have very interesting ways of getting these jackasses out of your home. And there's a new one in the Bay Area that uses all kinds of ancient weapons like samurai swords to get their point across.
I would call that old school, but old school would be the last 100 years. This is going back hundreds of years.
For more on the sword sheathing squatter and eliminators, here is Cron 4 in the Bay.
A company in the Bay Area offering help with removing squatters from properties, and they're doing it by using swords.
Okay, well, that's an idea.
ASAP Squatter Removals CEO says the company has
We got to get this guy on the show.
He should be an advertiser.
The company has a 95% success rate. Crown 4's Rob Nesbitt reports on how they do it.
It sounds like an intense way to remove a squatter. Go in with a samurai sword and scare the squatters out.
Seems to work.
Now, is it just a regular person who does it, or do you bring a ninja in for this?
Maybe you've got the whole Bushido setup. You've got the armor just in case they have a sword too, and then you can get into a real duel.
It sounds like an intense way to remove a squatter. Go in with a samurai sword and scare the squatters out. But the CEO of the company offering this service says it's more complicated than that.
Diagonals to the side.
First, you got to know how to wield the sword.
What kind of training do you go through? Do you take a fencing class at a local junior college?
You learn the art of honor in Bushido.
Diagonals to the side.
James Jacobs has been trained in martial arts for 15 years, showing me what's called a trainer blade. It would be illegal to have a real blade in public, but Jacobs started his...
But when you're on private property, like a squatter property, anything goes.
Uh-oh.
James Jacobs has been trained in martial arts for 15 years, showing me what's called a trainer blade.
That's usually a wooden sword. Can't really do much damage to it.
It would be illegal to have a real blade in public, but Jacobs started his company, ASAP Squatter Removal, to use real swords to clear squatters from properties. The CEO...
I wonder how he came up with this.
He had to be watching the news one night, a story about a squatter who just wouldn't leave, and he said to himself, you know what? I was just watching a kung fu movie before I flipped the channel, and you know what did the trick then? A sword.
You know, it's probably an idea where some of these other squatter removal services, they'll want you to put like stink bugs in your house and do things that can really damage the property. With this sword, I can scare the living daylights out of these people, and your property will be intact.
The CEO says surveillance is done first to pre-approve clients and make sure the squatters are illegally on a property. After that,
They don't want to just be attacking random people with swords.
after that,
They want to make sure this just isn't some weird little Jerry Springer level property dispute. They want to make sure this is actual squatting.
You have to dot your I's and cross your T's.
After that's established, a process called breach and clear is done.
Breaching is breaking into the property, and then clearing is actively going through the rooms and making sure there's no active threat.
Yeah, like not to, call out too direct of a reference to the Indiana Jones movie, but what do you do if you're waving around that sword and they've got a gun?
Yeah, then you're outgunned, as they say.
And making sure there's no active threat.
According to Jacobs, lease agreements are signed between him and the property owners to allow his team to go in and remove squatters. And
See, that's how they keep this nice and legal. The landlord who can't get these jackasses out of there signs a lease to Knifey, and then the sword people go in legally because now they're renting the property and they could chase out the criminals.
Now, what kind of attire do you think you wear when you go in with the sword? You dress up like He-Man?
According to
I have the power.
According to Jacobs, lease agreements are signed between him and the property owners to allow his team to go in and remove squatters. And it's not just samurai swords used.
AR-15s, we have...
Whoa! They're bringing the big guns.
Well, again, you got to be prepared. If you're going in with weapons and they have better weapons, you better have backup weapons.
Yeah, but you're not kidnapping Maduro.
AR-15s, we have M590, shotguns.
He's been in the work of removing.
We got every single thing that'll make you pee your pants.
What do you think that the squatters on meth think when they see someone walk in with an AR-15 and a sword?
Shotguns.
He's been in the work of removing squatters for 7 years and says it's a completely legal process.
I'm going to assume this is a growth industry.
Oh, yes. In this state, it is.
I talked with KRON 4 legal analyst Stephen Clark, who says that might be the case, but that the tactics used to remove someone from a property could lead to a criminal liability.
Nah, this is more fun.
The samurai sword is a deadly weapon, and if there was a confrontation with a tenant or someone overstaying on the property, and that samurai sword was used to inflict injury, that could result in a criminal prosecution.
Clark recommends going through law enforcement.
Yes, instead of having the samurais chase out the squatters toot squeak, we're going to make sure that you go through the legal process, which will take you several years and tens of thousands of dollars.
And they also destroy your house.
The last day, when the squatter finally leaves and you walk in and see what they did to your walls, and you don't even want to know what they did to your bathroom, you're going to be wishing you called the samurai.
Clark recommends going through law enforcement and the court process required to remove someone from the property. Jacobs disagrees, saying he's well aware of the risks, which is why he takes precautions to avoid legal battles down the road.
I have a $1 million insurance policy. I have an in-house attorney.
He can get insurance.
How can this guy buy insurance, but if you have a condo in the flats, you can't?
I got to imagine whatever this service costs, the price of the insurance premium is built into that cost.
I have a $1 million insurance policy. I have an in-house attorney. Heck, people...
Even his lawyer has a samurai sword.
People make wrongful claims against my business all the time just to try and get money.
The cost of removing a squatter from your property using ASAP squatter removal starts at $10,000.
Well worth it.
If I was in that situation, I would spend the 10 grand.
Reporting in the newsroom, I'm Rob Nesbitt, KRON 4 News.
There you go. If you're in the Bay and someone is refusing to leave your property and they're a squatting, you call yourself a samurai.
What's next, Batman? Taking your calls at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Dawn in Pasadena. Dawn, hello.
Hi, I don't think you have to worry about this billionaire tax. If it passed, all the billionaires would have to do is pull a reverse Adam Schiff, buy a condo in Maryland, and claim that's their home.
Well, Adam Schiff does the opposite. He lives in Maryland and claims to live in California.
Well,
I guess they'll have to do a reverse Adam Schiff.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Well, I like the idea. Thank you for the call, Sarah.
I call it the shift gift.
You sure do.
And Randy, I think it's time for the first installment of the California Crime Blotter in 2026.
It's happened yet again.
I see. Time for the California Crime Blotter.
And this one takes us to the 909.
In Rancho Cucamonga, someone's driving around with a tow truck and just straight up stealing cars out of their driveways.
That's no good.
For more, here's Fox 11 in Los Angeles.
Now only on Fox 11, thieves in the Inland Empire are using tow trucks to steal vehicles from right outside people's homes. We've got the video.
They probably just assume they're repo men, so no one's going to call the cops.
Oh, Bob didn't pay his bills again.
Fox 11's Nick Garcia is live in Rancho Cucamonga with this exclusive story. Nick?
Hey there, Christine. Well, we've seen predatory towing where a company will just take a car that's been involved in an accident or maybe that was parked illegally and then charge an unreasonably high amount to release it back to that owner. This is something different. Take a look.
Yeah, this isn't just bad tow truck companies. This is a straight up theft.
Can you imagine what you would do if you woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of your car being placed on a tow truck and you go out there wearing your pajamas, well, hopefully you're wearing something, and you run down the driveway and you go, "Hey, Cooter, what do you think you're doing?"
Pay close attention to this unmarked tow truck as it pulls behind a pickup truck parked on a residential street in Rancho Cucamonga. It appears to have a self-loading lift, allowing the thief behind the wheel to get away in less than a minute.
I was amazed that
they don't even need to break into the car. They could just straight up steal it.
Where do you even buy one of these tow trucks?
I was amazed that
I'm sure that was stolen too. That's how you
Probably.
start this process. You steal a tow truck, and then you use that as the building block to steal all the other cars.
I was amazed that they could do it that fast. The person never even had to get out of their vehicle to hook up anything to the vehicle that they were taking.
They kind of just scoop it up into the back and move on.
All right. I wonder if AAA can install a rule to not buy any Korean-made tow trucks. Don't buy any tow trucks from Kia. Don't buy any tow trucks from any of the other companies. No Hyundais.
Tom asked us to blur his face for his protection.
Boy, everybody who's talking to the news is in the witness protection program, and this guy isn't even the victim. He's a neighbor.
Tom asked us to blur his face for his protection. The stolen truck belonged to his neighbor.
Car thefts happen, of course, all the time, high-end trucks. But, with this equipment, never thought.
You know, we say they happen all the time. We just kind of throw our heads up and shrug. Is it like this everywhere, or is this a very specific California thing where cars get stolen to the number where your head would explode when you see the statistics?
I'll tell you, I was in Tampa over the break, and I was in the downtown area. I felt safe. I never felt threatened. Didn't see any homeless people at all. Didn't hear people talking about crime right and left. It was like a totally different world.
Never thought that they could do that fast.
The San Bernardino.
I was in Amsterdam, the land of bicycles. People don't even lock up their bikes.
Well, that's because they're too high to remember.
Well, there is that.
Never thought that they could do that fast.
The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department confirms there have been multiple reports of stolen vehicles by a tow truck.
Now we're seeing it on Facebook. Facebook posts are showing it. Another one just occurred a few nights ago in Rancho Cucamonga.
How quickly do those posts on Facebook talking about the tow truck that's stealing cars devolve into personal attacks?
Oh, 3 comments in.
Where it's, you should really check your privilege, bro. You were lucky enough to have a truck.
Another one just occurred a few nights ago in Rancho Cucamonga.
Tom says he's seen people on social media posting about similar thefts around the Inland Empire and parts of Los Angeles County. The thieves apparently are not holding the vehicles they steal for ransom. Tom says his neighbor's truck...
No, they're stripping them. Or they're shipping them off.
At what point does law enforcement just go after the chop shops? Because you know where these cars are going.
The thieves apparently are not holding the vehicles they steal for ransom. Tom says his neighbor's truck was found stripped for parts in Hesperia, more than 30 miles away.
Hey, Johnny, Hesperia got a shout out.
Oh, yes. We always make the news for all the right reasons.
Tom says his neighbor's truck was found stripped for parts in Hesperia, more than 30 miles away. Now, because these investigations are active and ongoing, the sheriff's department would not share any other details with us or any suspect or suspect information who they may believe might have been behind the wheel of that tow truck.
I mean, it's a pretty big truck. Someone must have had to see something.
People see things all the time whenever we do these blotter stories, but people are afraid to show their face on the news, and they don't want to be the one that's regarded as the narc in the neighborhood. So people just claim that they didn't see anything when we know that's not the case.
You've got that, and you also have a air of defeatism out there that even if you get involved, even if you saw something and you say something, you know nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, so why risk it?
But anyone with information should give them a call. For now, live in Rancho Cucamonga, I'm Nick Garcia, Fox 11
You
News.
would think, Nick, that a tow truck might be easy enough to track down, cameras all along the way?
You know, it's
cameras are for the news. How much are, in Northern California, you're seeing it sometimes. But in Southern California, with all the cameras that we have, law enforcement would be touting how useful they are if they were. But they sure are great for footage.
No, the cameras are like what happened when Jeffrey Epstein died. Anytime you need camera footage to answer a question, the cameras are never working.
You know, it's unmarked. It's not clear if there was a license plate on it. And they seem to be doing this in the middle of the night, maybe those early morning hours when nobody's really there to see them except for that Ring camera like we captured there.
I hope we get an update on that one, and it's a good one. All right, thanks so much.
So there you go. If you're in Rancho Kooks, there is a unmarked tow truck that can just steal your car without anybody noticing or caring.
I know it's a crime if you drive around a dummy police car, a car that is meant to look like a CHP car or LAPD, whatever, and you're not actually a police officer, because people who are criminals try to trick people, so they pull them over so they can rob you or rape you or do whatever. So if the cops see a fake police car, they'll pull you over and you go to jail. That's it. I wonder if the same thing is true for fake tow trucks.
I would imagine you have to have some kind of license, but do you remember, maybe it was 2 years ago, that story in San Francisco where this crooked tow truck company, the tow truck's on the street, they're stopped in traffic, and the car behind them is just sitting there, and the tow truck decides, I'm going to try to steal this thing right here and now, and tries to back in and hook it up.
That's pretty bold. All right, that's going to do it for